Oh, that just threw me so far off. I was like,
I just used my intro because
I,
I'm using my mixer.
I appreciate it. You know, it just brought us right in. Now we're live. I hit record during that intro.
No, no, no. I will bring you in right now.
Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
Coronavirus. That Cardi B, that 2020. Brother Nick. Mm,
The purge is upon us, my friend.
Urge horn. Brother Nikolai, welcome to the We Are One podcast.
Thank you for having me. Is this again? I forgot if I was on before.
You were on another one of my podcasts before, one that I didn't see through, but you know, We Are One is kind of it. So like now, this is like episode 35 or something. So we're getting a little momentum behind us.
I appreciate you having me, partner. Now I have to ask you before we really get deep. Do you want to record this, or you are recording the screen?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. I'm recording the screen.
I didn't see the red dot. My bad.
You see it? Actually, Zoom makes it so easy to. I don't have to run Streamlabs. I don't have to run Audible. I don't have to run anything else. I just hit record on this, and then I extract the audio one way, upload the video to YouTube. Bada bing, bada boom.
They really pivoted hard and they made it so convenient for so many people. And I feel right now, 10 months later, 9 months later, people are really kind of tapping into the potential of how we're going to be able to still be productive and engage in our friends' crafts while doing it from a different hub remotely.
Right. Right. I mean, I've always like imagined a dope like office for myself that I can just like go to, and like that's my personal hub. I like that word hub because you're gonna end up like interacting with the rest of the world from your surrogate vessel or something.
Oh, I'm getting training in my studio. I just had breath work with Breath House in the Center of Movement this morning, 6:15 in my studio on my fluffy rug out there. You've sat on it,
The fluffy rug.
the
That
fluffy rug.
that's home. I could basically call you mom, and that's where you birthed me.
I definitely play with your hair. For sure would.
uh, hell yeah. Hey, wait, was Zoom a thing before 2020?
Yes, it was. I used it. It was either how I was recording podcasts that I was doing remotely was actually through Skype Business.
Okay, and that you had to pay for that, didn't you?
um, it was kind of like free, whatever free service you get through this one, where it's like 40 minutes or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines. I don't know. It's
See, they say there's a time cap on Zoom, but I've done a few podcasts through it now. It's never cut me off before.
yeah, you're kind of lucky because they were giving everybody free unlimited the first probably 6 months of the pandemic, maybe a little less, and then they flipped it back to the 40-minute variety. And I went over last week in a meeting, 4-person meeting, and I didn't get kicked off. But you
Do you
get the
think
warnings,
maybe
you know.
we just got like grandfathered in with the unlimited then? Because I definitely downloaded Zoom during the pandemic.
Well, no one whispered sweet nothings into my ear, so if that's the case, I hope I get an email about it sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm saying.
Hey, well,
Zoom.
so Nikolai, you operate Stationary Astronauts, and you've got Stationary Astronauts is an event company, a media company. You got a podcast. Um, I was curious, largely, where does the name Stationary Astronauts even originate?
Oh, you're trying to get into it.
Bring me there.
Well, first off, let me start by saying that Stationary Astronaut made an insane pivot this pandemic. We had 6 figures worth of contracts out for events this summer that we eventually, obviously, because of force majeure, it's called, in a contract, an event contract, you can, pull back. So we had to pull back on all of our contracts, get our deposits back from these acts. We were going to have a big year as an event company, but we pivoted and we 10x the digital side for digital media and running ad funnels for companies, which is something we've already done. And that's how we sell our events out as well. So Stationary Astronauts has turned into, actually, to go back to the word hub, it's turned into a creative hub or a creative house where companies now reach out to us to do creative for them. And then when we really open up Pandora's box, because they know they want this, but they didn't know that they're also going to get that, and that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really like, we're an enigma because people don't even really know what we do. And honestly, we've been so busy, Justin, that it has been so hard for us to even promote ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Stationary.
Sounds like a blessing though.
It really is. We have I have kind of been able to practice everything I've been preaching for years. Now here's the deal. People see like, okay, this dude's doing his thing, he's out there, but they don't see the 10 years prior, 12 years in my world of entrepreneurialism, and I mean, to really go back, I was that kid who, when I was 10 years old, I had 2 jobs. I didn't just have one. My mom bought part of a supper club that my stepdad at the time talked her into using my dad's inheritance money to put the down payment on this supper club called Sandy Point Supper Club. This is when I was like 9 years old. And I had a paper route as well. And so I got thrust into every Friday and Saturday night for $50 cash. I would have to bus and seat people. I was a host at Sandy Point Supper Club as a little 10-year-old. And so it was just absolutely insane because I got thrown into this world, and my dad owned his own plumbing company prior to him dying in a C&M hardware store in a small town called Mazeppa, Minnesota, that my grandma did the books for and stuff like that, and he ran his plumbing business out of this company. And my mom was obviously co-owner of this business with him. They got a $20,000 loan from my grandpa Dick, my dad's real dad. They got a $20,000 cash loan, and then obviously he paid it back eventually. And when he passed away, my mom found I think it was $30,000 cash in a safe, and then he had a paid off, because he's also a Bassmasters fisherman. He had a paid off Bassmasters boat, paid off like work van and stuff like that, and paid off cabin. And partially because he worked in the trade, so he just did a bunch of in-kind trade to build his house that I really grew up in. So like half of that was paid off. And throughout that process, my mom became kind of this landlord too. She bought the lot. She bought Helen Grossbach's trailer in her lot in Mazeppa. So we basically had a big ass side yard growing up. And that was my first experience in my mom's actually kind of a hustler. I was witnessing it firsthand, and because I always knew my dad was it was not rare to just find a wad of hundreds just in a sock randomly. My dad believed in paying everything off in cash. And mind you, he also bought from his other dad, or from his dad's dad. So his grandpa Nick, who I'm named after, he bought the trailer park of Mazeppa. Okay. This was around, because he had always managed it for his grandpa, my great grandpa Nick. He had always managed it for him during the summers because they were still living in Rochester. That's where he went to high school and stuff. But he would work the summers at this trailer park, right? So he ended up buying this throughout the process. I was still young, and I was probably 1 year old. And then he eventually sold it in 1994 when they moved across town into the house he built. And it was kind of this insane experience of, oh my God, I'm realizing after the fact the kind of hustler my dad was. You get my drift? And then my mom comes in, and then she starts she meets another dude after my dad passes away. And then he's already a restaurateur and owned a restaurant in Rochester, talked her into buying, and he owned a big catering company too. And then immediately went in, bought this, and then put me to work in a nutshell. And as a 12-year-old, then a couple years later, I'm every single day in the summer, I started washing dishes at his other restaurant in Rochester. And I'm just grinding. Just all I knew was small business, right? So the reason I'm bringing all this up is you asked where Stationary Astronaut comes from. And I normally give people the whole, I was in the Amazon jungle in 2015 and I got this vision. And then I went back in 2016 with a full hustle mode, and then came out like this visionary, right? No, like I've always had small business in my blood.
Mm.
And my mom, she's been a small business owner. She's a franchise owner here in Rochester. She kind of made a giant leap in 2007, 2008, and then the crash happened, and I really got to see what a hustler she was. Because like growing up, my mom was like, she would work in these, she was the business office manager, worked at the Mayo Clinic for like 15 years, got shit canned because her department got closed down late 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Becomes the business office manager at the Rochester area family wide for $32,000 a year. Okay. Mind you, she's divorced my stepdad. So like it's just me, my sister, and her. You know what I'm saying? And my mom's making 30. She already spent all that fucking money up.
I couldn't even support myself off of $32,000.
You get my drift? So like
Right.
my mom starts selling, she becomes a network marketer. Okay. So she made money selling party light candles and
Okay.
some other ones. She sold ACN telephone network. This is in the early 2000s, mind you. So it was like still when network marketing, you could actually make a decent living.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like how she was able to provide us with, like, I still, you know, like my mom, goddamn, we still lived poor, so poor. And it was just like, that was to make an extra maybe 8 to 10,000 a year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like she's making 42,000, you know?
So how would you describe Stationary Astronaut then right now?
We are honestly, we are the future of advertising.
Mm.
Is what we are.
So
that's what we become.
So
for sure.
what do like event coordinating, podcasting, and creative marketing and like all the digital content, what do all those have in common? How do they fall under the same umbrella?
Well, we're in the age of attention, but attention has always been needed to be paid. It's like a farmer back in the day. Say you have two farms. Say the first farm doesn't do anything with advertising, but the second farm back in this day, they weren't trying to fly pigeons. He was sending his little boy out to go stand at a market. You get my drift? And like hustle like that and to put the word out there, right? So like there's always been, attention is always needed to be paid, and it also does do just that. It pays. So Stationary Astronaut right now has basically just like become this attention gathering platform method, I should say. And it's just proven, you know, like right now we are, like, I love paying attention to trends. So right now we are focused on the 3-second rule. So if you're running an ad right now, even trying to do anything in advertising or attention getting, which everyone is, like say on TikTok and Reels has it figured out, because you better get my attention now, otherwise I'm gonna keep scrolling. That's what Facebook has turned into. LinkedIn, people give a little bit more time to LinkedIn to read more articles and stuff like that. But that's kind of what it's become. And I think that's why Twitter has lost its mystique, because and its wave, because it really was always just that thing I got to read instead of that thing that's going to grab my attention real quick. So if you saw like the trend of all these clothing companies advertising for Black Friday recently, you better be doing something creative right off the bat to grab my attention. Otherwise, you've already lost.
It's easy to push it to the side, be like, oh, just like everything else, something I don't want, right? What's your personally preferred platform then right now? Like what social media platform stands out to you as the one you would want to log into most frequently? Even if you had your choice, like if it wasn't, you know.
Man, here's the deal. So I love connecting with people, and I love connecting with people I personally know. Does that make sense? Like that's my favorite thing, is to just vibe out with the homies. You get my drift? To this day, that's what we love doing. The type of relationships where you lose track of time, right? Well, personally, that's what Facebook has always been for me, because it's an area where it's an arena where we're all looking for a tribe, whether people will admit it or not. We just are. And when you do personal work on yourself, that's where finding a tribe becomes a little bit easier and easier and easier. And you just start like gravitating with and towards people who just vibrate at the same level, hence you and I, right?
Right.
And honestly, like our ad funnels for Lincoln Drink, where we met, this event series that Brandon Polizuk and I started. That one right there was just Facebook ads. We sold out 7 in a row, you know, and
they grew each time too, right? The capacity grew each all 7 times. Don't forget that part.
We kept having to switch venues because we kept outgrowing it. And then finally, right before the pandemic, we signed a 1-year deal with the Walker Art Museum in Uptown.
Right before, wasn't it like in February that you guys signed? And then there was already like some hints about the pandemic that was growing. I'm sure that was an anxiety at the time, but I doubt you probably had the outlook to see that it would turn into this, and then you wouldn't be able to host your events. But
well, I mean, March 18th was our first one at Walker Art, and we got shut down March 13th or 14th. So, I mean, that's how close we were cutting it. But at the same time, it just is what it is. But where we sit now, in regards to the grabbing of attention and why I'm using Facebook, is because we have had to go to uber localized consumerism. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's pretty much you're grabbing at low fruit throughout a pandemic. We have made companies so much money, Justin. Like last Thursday on Thanksgiving, we did a 10-day run with creative. We did 1 macro video and then microed that down to 2 more videos, ran our lead funnel with the big one, and then just kept jab. And we made a local restaurant $78,000. Hear this out, with no beverages sold. The year before, their previous high last year, 55,000 with beverages.
Damn.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, and that's a local restaurant, dude. That is fucking insane. That's unheard of.
That is insane. So do you think, like, through that lens, do you think like we're actually coming out ahead after this pandemic? If you are like Stationary Astronaut and your team, and if you've managed to adapt, like, do you like, especially on the grassroots, like local small business level, if you're in that realm, I feel like you'll probably say yes, but I don't know. We'll see. Do you feel like you're ahead coming out of this?
Man, well, here's the deal, and this is what people don't understand, and this will kind of give people some light into what the fuck I do. You didn't know me yet, but I brought this guy out here 2 years ago named Gary fucking V. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
I raised $250,000 in less than 8 months to throw this event. Theo Vaughn was also there, a booked Netflix comedian. He was fresh off of 2 appearances on Joe Rogan within a 1 month span. Gary V was fresh off a 4 or 3 stop tour with Tony Robbins. Literally, this is all 3-4 months prior, right? So the stars aligned for me to pull off this event. You know, I had everyone from Quick Trip Corporate to Target to Fallon from KDWB to YouTube. Stars were flying out because it was way cheaper to have dinner with him here than it was in New York City, where it was $10,000. Here I was only charging like $1,350. You get my drift? So I had a lot of people here. And what that did is it made it so I had to succeed. But beyond that, I had to tap into what Gary Vee was talking about that night. He was literally shoving it down small businesses' throat. Attention is so cheap right now on social media. Invest in it. So the small businesses that I created lifelong relationships with that attended this, they trust me. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to succeed for these companies, and not even just companies, but we ran a ward. Okay, so Ward 2, we have 6 wards in the city of Rochester. Okay. Ward 2 is the one that houses Mayo Clinic. It's personally the one I live in. It's the one my in-laws used to live in, my father-in-law. They put up these planters that almost killed my father-in-law on his motorcycle like 4 years ago. Dude died on the hospital table, and they brought him back to life. Literally had to get like 48 surgeries. Just insane.
Planters? What are you talking about?
Planters, like literal median planters, bro, with fucking trees in them and shrubs and shit.
Oh, yeah.
The personal injury lawyer who cut him off in Ward 2 couldn't see him because of these fucking plants, right? So I had a vendetta against the Ward 2 representative, 12-year Ward 2 representative, Michael Wojcik.
Wait, is that who you helped replace just this past election?
We just ran the Ward 2 campaign for Mark Bransford, and we fucking ran, we beat Michael Wojcik by 1,100 votes, a 12-year incumbent by 1,100 votes. That never happens. You know how that fucking happens? You run a solid ad campaign.
Attention,
bro.
So
my creative company stepped in and we fucking ran all the creative for this dude. We were pumping out so much for him and we just fucking put so much money into ad spend. Not even, dude, we probably spent like maybe like 7,000, 6,000 in ad spend, and we reached our ward and the city of Rochester, like I want to say 100,000 times over, because we're getting, you eventually, you eventually get to the point where your funnels are built and they're creative, and you're just fucking jabbing Mark Bransford down people's throat. And we were filming TV commercials for him. And just like,
Your content's been on point. Just saying.
yeah, so dude, people during a pandemic, not only did I hire 2 people, but I hired 3 people, and I let 1 walk and fired 2. And that was because of just stars weren't aligning. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
And it just got to the point where it was like, you know what, like this isn't where I'm going to be taking my company. Like I can't jive with young impatient kids, because I was making the mistake of hiring like between 21 and 23-year-olds, and it's nothing against them, it's just their hustle is not like mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need someone whose hustle is like mine. I need someone who's not going to get in my way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
As a leader, I need to be able to fluidly lead. So when cats they're not sandbagging it, but they're not trying to bring their full potential to the table and then complaining. Well, that's where I don't care if it's a pandemic. It's your time to walk. And there was obviously multiple things that happened, but during this process, it taught me so much as a leader, because it was like, I know what my company deserves from a creative standpoint, and I know what my mind can divulge for this planet. And that's really where I found this kid named Lucas Peterson, and he has become my sidekick. That is we are now, we're projection mapping now. We are now we're able to do deep fakes. You know what I'm saying? So like, we're going to be doing some really cool, like, you know how I go on rants, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing some more like interplanetary rants for mankind. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I have a picture. I don't know if it's the same thing that you're expressing, but yeah.
Coming from a space way greater than ourselves. You get my drift? A source way greater than ourselves. And we're going to be able to hit this planet with some messaging. And I'm very excited for it, because honestly, Justin, our beyond our planet, our country is really ready for it, because our country, I feel, has gone through like beyond racial tension and police violence. Our country has gone through like this like traumatic and dramatic awakening that I don't even know if our friends who live in this country and family are even aware it's happening. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, it entirely does.
Now, as someone who has man, you were boots on the ground there, holding down the fort, literally. And I know you came on my podcast and talked about it, and it was so deep, and it was so eye-opening, and it was so inspiring.
And I think back to that time when I came on your podcast, because even a lot of that now I still haven't fully processed, where it's like difficult to articulate how I felt and the experiences that I had and whatnot. But I remember when I came on your podcast, it really made me aware how little of it that I had processed, because it was so difficult to talk about. I had no way of being clear about what I was thinking or what I felt about it, because I didn't know yet. And I still don't really know. But I think that just speaks to it having been like, it was a traumatic experience, right? A lot of it was really traumatizing. It's almost like hard to admit, because it's like, I'm not the only one that had some of those experiences. Oh, it's not all that bad. It's not that crazy, right? But ultimately it really is. And I got to tell myself that.
Man, I tell you what, like the God's work that you were doing, it really showed me so much in my company that how powerful of a role we can play in being a pillar for my brothers and sisters like yourself. And like my girl Ashley DeBose, who also came on the show, I think a day before you, because I think you came on the same day as Nerdy.
Yep.
Yeah, and I wanted to like, because Nerdy got arrested outside the Capitol. You were boots on the ground, getting gassed every single night, having to talk motherfuckers who were like in the same on the same side, but like there was so much like cats coming from out of state, not really knowing like what's really going down in our area.
Well, and then there was also like this difference where I felt like personally I was trying to operate from intuition and from source and be led by that light, where there was people who are still operating on like a ego individual level that weren't there for the same reasons that I was there for, right? I felt like I was there out of obligation as a human being that has an understanding of what's happening and how I can impact my surroundings, not from a position of like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to go get attention, right?
And that was the biggest thing from just everything that happened was myself learning the value I provide, like that I can play in local politics that's going to help minorities. My partner is a minority, you know. We are in the process of we're hiring downtrodden individuals who are still in treatment for this bin cleaners company we've got together.
That shit looks dope. What a great idea.
Oh, I'm telling you, and this is how we can, like, my little brother who's mixed, he's our manager, he's our big truck driver. You know what I'm saying? So like we're providing our minority friends literally like an opportunity to be a leader in a business. And then on top of like some other ventures that we're dabbling in that I can't quite
real quick,
announce yet.
tell me about bin cleaners then a little bit, just briefly.
So bin cleaners is just exactly what it is. It's these trucks that they have hooks like or grabbers like a garbage truck, only they pull the bin up and we can do dumpsters with the big truck, and it just cleans out. It's got these hoses, these like high pressure hoses that are basically these beams that come out of the back of this truck, and then the grabbers pull up the bin and it just goes to town on these things, and it just cleans the shit out of them. And it's basically a big preventer in disease. I didn't know how much disease travels through garbage. Obviously we know about rodents, but rodent problems in specific areas, especially restaurants, are just fucking insane. So yeah,
imagine that blowing up in like a city like New York, where there's probably a million tons of garbage produced a week, and there's a million trash bins within a square mile, and then a trillion rodents and rats that live underneath the ground. That probably is like a cesspool of that disease that's being delivered from these trash cans and shit. Like
New York is a special case because they actually don't use bins. They bring everything out to the corner because of access issues for garbage trucks, because it's such an old city, and then some other issues. But yeah, that's why the rodent problem is so fucking insane. But this type of business is blowing up. So there is, I believe it's a 2 or 4 year patent that Hamza, me and Marcus's partner, got. He's the one who got these trucks built. He flew down to Florida, and there's a bunch of Marcus, my partner, co-owner, Stationary Astronaut, is a longtime NFL veteran, and they caught wind of like fucking NFL players are flying down to Florida. There's a couple Colts players, a couple Eagles players, some Houston Texans players that are doing this. And the cool thing is and San Francisco 49ers players, early capitalization on this process. It's something that was so not even thought about. And now these cats are getting these patents on this technology, these trucks, to do this work in their state. And there's no competition at all. So having that patent is just fucking insane. Now there are going to be other companies that will pop up. It is what it is. But at the same time, long term, having an early jump and us being media professionals, that's kind of exciting.
Competition is healthy though, right?
It really is. Actually, I just quoted this a couple weeks ago. One of my mentors, Smoke Shop Steve Sinella, owns the 2 Rochester smoke shops down here in Rochester. OG, when I was my mom's development director for 6 years at Good Feet, from 20 to 26, I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for a couple years, and I'd just roll over, and him and I would chop it up forever. I became his client. He became my client, and he's always taking care of me. And he told me this is at his new store. This is a couple years ago. He's like, Nicky, he's like, because I was asking him, about all these smoke shops popping up, and they're doing selling CBD at the time, because this is when CBD just started popping, and he was like making all these connections to have it in his store, which he did. And he's like, Nikki, competition, we need it. Competition makes me more money. It lets people know that our industry even exists. You get my drift? So I'm just here to be convenient for people. Competition is good, and that's always stuck with me. And growing up in small business, I always thought like competition's bad. Got to put my foot on all their throat, you know, like even like event planners, like it was just an unwritten rule to stay away from people's dates. So if there is a public announcement, you just stay the fuck away from that date. Not to mention you don't want to compete for attention, right?
Social capital, right?
Yep, social capital. And then it got to the point where like people would wait for us to announce what we're going to be doing, and then they would announce their shit. And that was a good place to be, because yes, there was still competition, but we were kind of the ones dictating it. Get my drift? So that's
Yep.
always and it got to the point where people, out of respect, Nick, we know you always do something big in August. Do you care if we do something end of July? And it was like I didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what we're doing. You know.
Do you feel like Stationary Astronaut is in some ways an extension of Nick?
It is my soul speaking.
So are you personally fulfilling your purpose through Stationary Astronaut?
Absolutely.
What is that purpose?
To connect people, to pull people in, to allow people and set people up to fulfill their purpose and live it out. That's been the funnest thing. Like my partner Lucas, even Cheryl's is like getting to fulfill a part of himself that he never knew existed. Does that make sense? And I feel the same way. And that's why when you know who you are and what you're doing, the most beautiful thing is on a day in, day out basis, like where I'm at, I have to put out fires every single day, right? And create. And it gets to the point where it's like the fires don't matter, the no's don't matter, because I know who we are and I know what we're doing, I know where we're going, and I know why we're here. So when you just have all those boxes checked, nothing fucking matters in regards to headaches that come about, stressful moments, anxiety. It is what it is. You get my drift? Bruce Lee said it best, man, be water. And when you live your purpose, you are able to be malleable in this game called life, and nothing can throw you off. You just are existing and you're fulfilling.
So I produce a podcast for another group, another couple people also.
Yeah.
It's called the Dialogue to Destiny podcast. It's pretty cool. But today, I was on it, and part of the conversation was around trying to mend the gap between older generations and like my generation and younger, right? Because there's definitely a disconnect between the two in a lot of scenarios, no matter what realm you're operating in, if it's business or just households, like with your family, there's a disconnect between the generations. So a lot of our conversation was around that. And we were talking about purpose. And I think part of me thinks how like everyone has a purpose to fulfill. And some might be, big, grandiose. Some might be simple as a janitor at a private school, but you have some form of purpose to fulfill. And we were talking about how one of my ideas was how what I think I need from older generations is empowerment to fulfill my purpose, not just tell me, graduate high school and then after that go to college and maybe you'll find something that you like to do and then spend your career 30 years doing the same thing, whatever, right? That's not fulfilling to most people, especially if they don't even understand what they like to do for themselves.
Nope.
So that's why I was kind of just caught up on purpose a little bit, and you inspire me in so many ways, and I appreciate you in so many fucking ways. And I feel like I've only known you for like 2 years now, a little bit less, and I feel like I've grown a fucking shit ton by knowing you, by surrounding myself with you. I've seen you in person less than 10 times, but it's been enough, like you've delivered me into me really kind of becoming the person that I'm intended to be, right? You've assisted in me in so many ways. You're like, I could call you mom, but I could also call you dad, right? You're like the father figure even though you're more like an older brother, but you're like the father figure I wish I'd have had growing up, right? So what I need from like older generations is what I got from you, is kind of my point.
That's so kind, honestly, and I feel the same way about you, and I can genuinely say that because you might look at me, consider me a mother figure, fatherly figure. I look at you the same way, Justin. I grew up without a dad, and I've always had to grab for a fatherly relationship, which is why I have all these mentors. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about crossing that gap, brother, you've crossed that gap for me. You've shown me patience. You've shown me, honestly, like you come off as a confident, stoic human being who can teach me things. And I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you saying that.
I think you've empowered me with the confidence to be that stoic human being, though, right?
Well, definitely, and it's a trade-off. It's an energetic
It
jujitsu
is.
match.
It
You know?
is. It's a balance. It's a back and forth. This is one thing me and my girl joke about all the time, is like, I've got like my cup of like love, right? And if you fill my love cup up and it starts to overflow, that overflow is just going to be like reciprocated back to you, so that when you start to overflow, you can give it back to me. Like it's a give and take, right?
Hey man, it wouldn't be my first time slurping love off the table. I'll give it
um
to you. Mhm.
Oh, I was just thinking, what, so I want to talk a little bit about like building a team, because that's
Okay.
one thing I not necessarily struggle with. Like I'm good at bringing people around an idea, but what I struggle with, the trust it takes to delegate certain tasks and trust the people that I'm bringing in to take care of their responsibility.
Mhm.
How do you and Stationary Astronaut how do you find someone like Lucas and build that relationship to understand you can trust Lucas to carry out the tasks how you want it carried out, or like even better, and trust his creative process to produce something that you want to use?
To be honest, man, it always comes from being sure. And what I mean by that is so Lucas did this music video for this kid. Some of the edits were just fucking insane because he was using CGI. And I knew that I wanted to start implementing that in businesses I work with. So I just throw out a test to creatives that I build teams with. Okay. And some creatives are going to just be a creator. They're always going to be the artistic type only. And they will, unfortunately, be forced to follow a little bit. But they're still going to fulfill their purpose because they get to create, right, Jack? And then you have these cats who like will literally, when they like will walk the plank for you in regards to like I see how far I can take it with them. I see how far I can push creativity. I see how much trust I by testing them, by throwing them in with the wolves, I get to see can they babysit this account for me? Can they make this business owner proud to be working with us because this person showed up to the dance? Don't get it twisted. There are many times I've had to tell a subcontracted creator, this just ain't going to work out mid-gig. And I just say, I'm paying you for what you've done so far because that was our agreement. But the thing is it's just not going to work out. And it's all trial and error, man. Like now I know when I work with these bigger companies that have 100+ employees, now I know why they're always hiring. Does that make sense?
It
They're
absolutely
always
makes
like,
sense.
we literally just got done running a hiring campaign for this big plumbing company in the Twin Cities. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it just is what it is, bro. Like these bigger companies, they're always trying to build on their team because everyone is replaceable. And honestly, I've kind of had to turn into this business owner over the last 8 months and let everyone know, like, no, here's the deal. I got a company throwing me $12,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got this company over here throwing me this, throwing me that. They're giving us an opportunity. I am enslaved to this business owner. But the thing is like, it's a relationship that I've worked on for so fucking long. So if you think that you are going to test these boundaries in regards to my trust with this company and loyalty with them, I'm sorry, but like, it's just not going to work out. It actually happened with that restaurant we made all that money for. He's a big dog. You know what I'm saying? He's I've been working on this one for a long time, just by being loyal and showing up to the dance, being friends with his son, showing up, Ubering downtown to go to his fucking wedding I couldn't miss because I needed to be with Papa. You get my drift?
Mhm.
And I had to fire this kid because he just like was getting too big for his britches. Ego was growing large, very large. You get my drift? And it's like obviously I'm kind of letting this bean spill right now, but I promise you, like when it comes down to it, like as a leader, I am building teams. I actually take a backseat. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I, like I said, throwing cats in with the wolves. Lucas, for the Good Feet account down here, I just threw him in with the wolves last week, and he fucking killed it. You know what I'm saying? And he knows he's comfortable. We've got him on salary. He gets paid well, but at the same time, it's like I care so much about who sticks around and who can fight off the wolves and make it back to the den. You get my drift? I have so much respect for people like that because growing up in athletics like we did, it was us 5 against them. Or if you play football, U11 versus them. And it was like, we're going to war with us. I don't give a fuck about you. I don't even care if you live across the street from me. You get my drift? Like I go to war for my employees and I care so much, which is why like I in the month of after November ended, I turned away a $15,000 a month contract in a pandemic, might I add, and a $12,500 a month contract. My company was going to be making almost $30,000 a month gross, obviously. But the thing is I turned that down to keep my employees sane. You get my drift? And being able to do that because I love those who are in my camp so much, I know and I have so much faith that we're just going to go get it back. And that's obviously what we continue to do. You get my drift? But like this was a scale up year in a weird way for my company. And I didn't see this coming. I didn't foresee this at all. You get
Didn't
my
foresee
drift?
what?
I didn't
Scaling up in the way that you did, or
obviously that, but I didn't see myself tripping balls every Monday on Prior Lake. I didn't see
Right.
myself doing a 4-month remodel on my house with my bare hands and some of my friends who subcontracted for me. You get my drift? I didn't see myself like up on my roof a day after a plumber told me I didn't need my chimney anymore because he was replacing my water heater and I didn't need it anymore. I didn't see myself the very next day saying, fuck it, getting on my roof because I'm so bored with the pandemic, just got done building a deck. And I fucking took a sledgehammer to the chimney just to buy myself 18 inches in my bathroom down below. You get my drift?
yo, that's a valuable 18 inches.
It really is.
Is it like in the direction where you like lean into wipe, like right here?
It opened it the fuck up, dude. It just opened it up. And like, I just went on this mission to create more room in my 2-bedroom house. You get my drift? And my wife's working from home for the Mayo Clinic. So it's like, we got a second child on the way.
Congrats, by the fucking way. That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. We find out the sex on the 21st.
Okay.
So probably having,
That's probably a female, probably another girl.
Probably a Zim or a Zer.
Okay.
Definitely a Zerson.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
My child's going to be bilingual,
Bilateral.
binary, all the bis.
Dude, I see you as like being such a masculine man that you'll probably just end up with a bunch of daughters.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm honestly afraid. I already have one daughter and my wife only has a sister and all of her cousins are all girls. And it's just fucking insane, to be honest.
It's probably more likely than not.
No, but I'm sorry. Like, I really haven't answered your question, Justin.
Sorry, I got off track too.
My mom gave me this book when I was in like 9th grade. It was called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And it was all about basically partnering and teaming up with people who don't think like you, who don't operate like you. You get my drift? And there's this magic that happens in the form of value. Because I am a master, and I can honestly say because I've put in just thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in making money come out of thin air. I only know how to do that. I can no longer work for somebody. Does that make sense? I can only work with somebody and with people. But the 5 dysfunctions of a team showed me that there is magic in pulling in females, in pulling in weirdos, in pulling in a person who honestly doesn't need the job. You get my drift? Just to test them, just to throw them in with the wolves and see where creativity comes from and how much of it can be exerted. You get my drift? So to answer your question, surround yourself with more people who are not like you, and the right pieces for your team fall into place.
I like that. I think personally, I know so many fucking people, and now I'm trying to build out the We Are One platform, right? And I find myself thinking a lot about you and Stationary Astronaut and what you're doing, and it almost being like a model, not necessarily to strive for exactly, but to give me some guidance as what's possible. And I think that's kind of what my next step, my next level up is doing this no longer by myself, right? Everything I've ever tried to do has been completely by myself, and I dial that back to that trust factor. That's why I asked the question, because I have a hard time trusting people. But I'm also super anal and super particular, and I like things being done a specific way. So when I have an idea, I need to trust that I can convey it to you, and you're going to carry it out as closely to that as possible. But I also need to understand that I can delegate other people for coming up with ideas too. It doesn't just have to be my idea. It can be a team idea or a group think thing. But I think there's value in evolving an idea, coming up with an idea, bringing it to a table with say 3-4 people, and then seeing what can it grow into from that beginning point.
This has been something I've been stuck on for a while. Not stuck on, but really just I am kind of dissecting the idea of execution, and not execution as the process it is, but the amount of people that we really look at doers, but they don't execute. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So anybody can get lucky and do one thing. And I just went on this rant last week regarding you're one move away, because after you pull off something big or something that's big to you and your spirit, how you follow up and execute after that is everything. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So 99% of people are idea makers. Okay. Everybody's got that big idea. Okay. 1% of them can execute. And when you lack trust, that is the one thing you have to regain and attain and retain as much as you possibly can, because trust is where execution comes from. So when you get better at trusting, and you know how you get better, Justin, surrounding yourself with people who execute, who can take a possibly just a far-fetched vision that isn't even very much thought out or plotted, and being able to just shine, being able to provide the universe with a glimpse of Justin's mind and their own meshed together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So surrounding yourself with people who know how to execute, not just know how to think up ideas. You get my drift? And I know you're thinking, there are people in your life who maybe you haven't given a chance to or even considered, that do execute on a macro or micro scale, and being able to work with them, whether it just be, I had to go to hell and back to find Luke's email. And then we moved him here from Grand Forks. I brought him here on a prove it deal in June. We had a big shoot. I paid him well. And then 4 days in on the shoot, it was a 6-day shoot, 4 days in, I was like, hey, so I was going to be paying, I was going to be doing part of the editing. And then I was going to be subcontracting my boy Joseph from Chicago to do some of the monotonous stuff. And how about you just edit it all and I'll give you this amount of money? And he's like, yeah, sure. Because he says yes to whatever the fuck I say. And he's awesome like that. All my crazy shit. And then it just turned into what it is. But the thing is what did I do to this kid? I threw him. This is my largest contract to date at the time. And he just followed up with it. It took a while, but he followed up and we worked hard. And then it got to the point where mid-August, I'm basically telling him, well, we're going to move you here from Grand Forks, which is where he lived. And he's like, man, that's perfect because, and this is a dude who's 26, about to be 27. He's got 2 kids already, 6 and a 2-year-old, and a fiance. And they were able to just pick the fuck up and move.
That's
You
crazy.
get my drift?
Yeah.
In a pandemic. And like that, talk about a badass maneuver on his behalf. And it really incentivizes us to succeed because we moved a dude and his family. His oldest son had to switch schools. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that's a credit to like you as a leader, or is that a credit to Lucas's vision?
Well, both, because Lucas believes in our vision too. You know what I'm saying? When we hit him, like when he saw what we were doing and he saw that like everything I said I was going to do, I did it. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
That is where not many are like myself personally, but then Lucas either. Like I know this kid is a 1%er. I just know he is. He's got so much in the tank and he's so willing to just get after it. And the one thing he preaches is patience and how patient he is. And I give him all the props in the world. And I really appreciate the kid. Honestly, I really fucking appreciate him because he has allowed our company to grow some more feathers on our wings. Get my drift?
Yeah. What have you come into like the scenario with people that you've employed in the past that aren't employees? Are those some of the people that you've had to go separate ways with? Like, because do you think there's specific type of people that like just maybe are like yourself that can't really be employed, that can't work for somebody?
No, not at all. And that comes down to the leader. If you're a dog and you can't have other dogs in your pen, then you're actually a bitch ass leader. No, actually, I welcome fucking leaders. You know, I welcome motherfuckers who I need more of me. I need 2, 3, 4 more of me. I've interviewed some. There's this pit bull girl. She's a fucking pit bull. I interviewed her, and we were going to take the shot on her, but then my guy, one of my good friends who was dating her, actually for a while, they ended up breaking up, and we hadn't submitted the offer to her yet. So we had to have that tough conversation. But like, no, dude, I want like female leaders. I want the badass type, the type that are like pit bulls who are going to like, 1, be loyal to our clientele, but 2, be like genuine leaders as well, that are like going to do pull-ups left and right. They're going to hold our employees accountable, but at the same time are able to also create money out of thin air and execute on that. You know what I'm saying? So the answer would be no. I welcome it.
Dope. Well, I've got to pee really bad.
Well, that is fucking unfortunate, Justin, because
I
we
can
still
hold
have
it, bro.
3 hours to go.
Bro, I have the strongest bladder.
To be honest, like,
you know how many times I was driving a bag from here to way over there? I couldn't stop to piss in between until I had no shit in the car. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or I piss in the bottle because sometimes you gotta do it.
I've definitely had to do that. I have very distinct memories of driving up to the Twin Cities on Highway 52. I always made sure to either bring a Powerade or a Gatorade bottle.
Because your dick can kind of fit in the top of it.
So, yeah. So it made it a little bit easier.
Quite a bit easier.
Yeah.
That's kind of a sketchy highway to drive with weight too.
Well, it's straight basically, but the thing is like you just got to know the counties to not speed in. Okay. One of them, I'll let my fellow drug dealers know that you definitely don't want to speed through Zumbrota.
Right.
That is Goodhue County. Do not speed through Goodhue County.
You were born in Mazeppa?
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that where Zeppa comes from?
Yeah.
Nikolai Zeppa?
Yeah, I don't use my government name on social media.
Oh, so the name I see on screen right now, that's your real name?
Yeah.
Come on. I like Nikolai better.
Yeah, that's fine. You can call me Nikolai. Everyone calls me Mac. Because my last name is McLaughlin. Everybody calls me Mac.
Big Mac.
So like my dad was Mac. All my uncles were Mac. And that's what I am too. Which is cool. You know what I'm saying?
It's cool. Tell me about your Magic Mondays.
Okay, so these got fucking insane, dude. It started off where I was like, I got invited to go to this dude's place, and this was the one night they weren't at the Prior Lake house. They were at his Edina house. And I got welcomed in. And immediately I was like, because, dude, I'm a fucking traveler. You know, I've tripped balls all across this country and planet. And I'm lucky. And I have drank the potion, and I've been lucky enough to tap in and work with people and facilitate people. And these cats were not doing it right. Okay. From the music, just from everything. We were about to eat, like, I think that every single Monday they ate 2.5 grams of mushrooms, and then they would stack it with either 2 pills of Molly or 1. And then this is before anyone. This dude invites us. Do you guys want to see my drug collection? Mind you, this is a very successful dude. Okay, very. And before that, he shows us his gun collection. Mind you, he's ex-military too. And at this point, he's a very sweetheart of a
It's not a
guy.
very good segue into drugs.
I know. He's a very sweetheart of a guy, but this is my intro to these Monday nights. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I knew like this night was going to be the last night like this. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
And I took control of the music, and it changed their fucking lives. I tapped in right away like I normally do. And then like an hour and a half, 2 hours, we all kind of like come out of, you're still in euphoria because of the double stack of Molly, but the psychedelic tap-in was over, and they all tapped in as well due to the music and apparently my presence. And because that does play a big role, your set and setting is everything, obviously. So everything. So these guys like all like, they start looking at, this is so fucking weird. I'll never forget this. They start looking at me almost like I'm the fucking Messiah, Justin. Just because I played the right tunes, and they must not have tapped in like this prior. And so they like start rubbing my fucking feet and my legs. And like, mind you, these are a couple of doctors, and you know what I'm saying? Totally straight dudes too, you know, married shit. And then it just
didn't even cross my mind, bro.
You get my drift, but
yeah.
It was new to me because even in ayahuasca ceremonies, the deepest of the deep, I've never had someone give me a fucking foot massage while I'm tripping balls. You know what I'm saying? In another dimension. So, so the following week, it was just like, I knew I wasn't going to, I don't need to trip all the time. I'm fucking able, I like getting tapped in naturally, right? I brought these dudes a toad experience, as you know.
The same night?
Been trained. No, the following Monday.
Okay.
And I fucking brought these guys to God, you know, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do that for people. And it just kind of kicked everything off differently. Because something else was still going on the following week at his other house, or was getting painted or something, so we had to stay out. And so we were still in the Edina house, and then showed these dudes God. It was a short night. Gave them all some fucking blueberries and took off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Following week, this is week 3. Then I start really seeing what we were going to get into, because this dude has saunas and fucking cold tubs and shit, and it really like started becoming fun to like trip in a different way for me. You know what I'm saying? I've always been a less is more type of guy, because I focus on my breath, and in the right set and setting, I can tap in every single time. And I'm lucky enough to be able to do that due to, you know, years worth of hard work and tripping balls for over half of my life. Right. And we started just really kind of experimenting with human potential and breath work. Invited a professional, this dude named Harvey, who fucking trains Timberwolves, a bunch of Wild players, Twins players, Vikings, travels the country. He's a breathwork expert, and breathwork potential for athletes. And this dude came in, and I fucking had just probably like a gram of some mushrooms, and this dude brought me to God just through breath, and it was just incredible. And then we just kept pushing the boundaries. Brought out a San Pedro shaman. She freaking spread my wings one night. Just probably like 14 straight weeks of every single Monday night. Some Mondays we took off, but it was rare. Just tarot card type stuff, bringing out this practitioner, that practitioner, Reiki specialists, you know, It was just very fun, very experimental, but at the same time, it was different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What was valuable about it then? Like what is like the greatest takeaway? I know that's kind of a hard question when you're talking about psychedelics, because like there's typically multiple profound takeaways, right? But what, you get it.
Well, for me, as you know, love is infinite, but for me, it was just like the constant reminder of, dude, Nick, you've gotten what you need. You love your child. Like I was in pretty, early on in my 4 month remodel of my house. So it was just this reminder on Monday nights, dude, you experienced a lot tonight. This was great. You had so many laughs and so many aha moments, but it's all about your wife. This is before we found out we were having a child. So once we found out we were pregnant, it was pretty much game on for me that I don't need this anymore. And I'm good where I'm at. So I just came back and quit going up there on Monday nights and finish my remodel, and happy wife, happy life. You know what I'm saying? And my wife is the most supportive. She drives me up to the airport to fly to the jungle. You know what I'm saying? My wife's the shit. But it just got to the point where it was just a repeated message. Dude, you love your family. Go be with your family, bro.
That was
Love,
my next
love, love,
question.
love, love.
Seeing as like, I know for me, I've had, multiple profound psychedelic experiences at this point. And of course, there's always going to be something new and more to learn and get out of it. And even like a nice like recalibration, let me get that reset, a nice reminder, because, I didn't forget, but maybe I just have to be shown again. And then, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's like, yeah, I was curious because I was like,
Diminishing returns.
well, yeah, is there 14 weeks in a row of Magic Mondays? Is there a point in which you feel like you're not getting any more out of it? And
Check this out.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were consistently taking MDMA. And it got to the point where I was like, immediately when I saw how these guys were doing it, like I was like, your body, you can't maintain that, bro. We're not fucking 16-year-olds anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Even as a 16-year-old.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that was our heyday between the ages of 16 and 18 with ecstasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, y'all are some grown ass adults, successful, don't get me wrong, but it's like, you guys, like, you don't need this anymore. You get my drift? So I was less was more for me. It got to the point where it was just, I was always suggesting, tonight we'll do a psilocybin tea and do some tarot cards and laugh our asses off with our eyes open instead of a heroic dose tonight. You know what I'm saying? It got to the point where not everything was equal. Even it wasn't always an even playing field in regards to people's experiences. So it got to the point where it was like, you know what, like, let's tone this down a little bit. And I really helped these guys. I felt like my job was done with these guys because I was able to come in there and provide them. I'll never forget this toad experience I provided the owner, my buddy. This is his second toad experience. And this is probably like a month later. And I gave him this experience that showed him he didn't need MDMA anymore. And he didn't really need any more plant medicine. He's like, I found it. I got it. And it was really a magical moment. And then I think we spent the next Monday was sober. And then the following Monday after that was San Pedro. And then I think I was done with these guys. They're still my friends, obviously, but I didn't need to. I had since linked them up with one of my friends, too, who's also a facilitator of ayahuasca down in Colombia. And he's a gringo. He's a doctor up here, too. And yeah, man, he still goes up there on Monday nights with them, but it's few and far between, bro. Like, it's a medicine that is very powerful, that's helping a lot of people, but at the same time, it's my duty to respect this stuff and pretty much bring people to the well of the natch as well, through diet and through breath work and things like that. You don't need to be fucking tripping balls every fucking Monday.
There's definitely, I think there's a place where like there's a place for heroic doses, and then there's a place for like that quarter gram microdose, half gram microdose, and you kind of blend that that wavy place with real life, and then you can kind of bring the two together. I remember after my last Toad experience with you, the part of my mission when I came out of it was like, how can I hold on to as much of this experience and bring it into my everyday life? This is my life and this feels like real life, but how can I bring it into what I'm experiencing right now? Right. And I think there's something powerful that you can do when you're just taking microdoses of, lots of different substances, and you are just blending, you're figuring out how to balance, these ways with this vibe, right? So that's what I think is dope to hear about, how you went from double stacking MDMA and heroic doses in an evening to some smaller doses, and then playing with like tarot card readings and breath work, and you're kind of bringing in all these different things to then eventually blend it, because it does come to a point where those heroic doses might not really be showing you anything new that they haven't shown you before, right?
Yeah, man. Some people like to some people have the Mickey Mantle gene, right? And I do in some instances, like business and creativity. I love going for gusto, but when it comes to neurochemistry, I'm really like, I've never really been that guy, even like with, say, drinking alcohol, cannabis use. One hit and I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Couple beers and I'm good. Like, I just the thought of a shot. What would be the point of taking a shot? You get my drift? If you want to escape quicker, go ahead. But I don't like losing control. I want to be centered. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
There have been times.
Wait, bro, you got to do me a favor.
What?
Riff for a second. I can't hold my pee anymore.
Oh,
I'll be right
that's
back.
fine.
Just keep
Yeah.
talking.
Go ahead. Okay, so I'm just going to keep telling this story. So there have been times where I have kind of just woken up at a bar, and I don't mean like I was blacked out. I rarely ever blacked out, but I just like came to while I was probably waiting for another drink. And I realized how pointless this experience was. I realized how disingenuous the relationships around me were. I just made this point yesterday regarding, I've kind of shifted, and when you as a human being shift into surrounding yourself with people who will pick up the phone at 7 a.m. and not 2 a.m., success starts to eventually be summoned into your life, and there's magic to it. And it's nothing against creatives, because even creatives need those early risers who are hell-bent on success in a different way than, say, creatives who are up creating at 3 o'clock in the morning and then sleeping in till noon. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of different things that get you off. I love being up early in the morning. Give me a cup of coffee at 7 a.m. and there's honestly like very few things that are better. And being able to be up before my daughter and kiss her on the forehead or the cheeks before she's even up, and then waking her up and getting her ready and boots on out the door to daycare before 8. I just love that shit. I love being able to experience those little things in life that if you're not fully present, you miss. And like right now, my wife gets to share a moment with my daughter, and she's got my daughter at home dressed up as a baker, and they're baking Christmas cookies for the mailman. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the life we lead, and this is what I grab from. I pull from moments like that, and it's probably why I don't consider what I do work, and I work every single day. I don't remember the last time I took a day off. I tried over Thanksgiving weekend taking I was supposed to take 4 days off. God damn it, I didn't even take Thanksgiving off. I was stopping at one of our accounts to make sure they had everything they needed and snap a few pictures for social. Yeah, Justin. So I'm just talking about the importance of the little moments in life, and not taking them for granted, and tapping in. So I was just talking about how right now my wife gets to have those moments. She's got my daughter at home dressed up as a baker, baking cookies for the mailman. And that's my daughter, they baked cookies last year too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is just kind of like just an opportunity for her to have, because after I pick up my daughter, I bring my daughter to daycare every single day, and I pick her up every single day, and I get to have those moments. Like this morning, I caught my daughter staring at me from the back seat, and then when I whipped my head back, I said, are you staring at me? She like looked away quick and like was blushing and smiling at the same time, and it was just so cute because I got to have that experience with her this morning. And then I pick her up and I bring her right to the studio, which is rare. Normally we don't come straight to the studio. We go straight home, but I got to tell her I had a surprise for her. And it just brightens up her day that she gets to come up here and fly our mini studio drone.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Hell yeah.
then go home and tell mom that. And
Well, you think you think about those moments for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But think about the impact that those moments have on her life too. Like those are the types of moments I wish I'd have had so I could hold on to them right now. Right?
Dude, you know what my drone experience was as a kid? My great grandpa, or not my great grandpa, my dad's stepdad, whose also name was Dick. He adopted my dad at a young age when his mom got remarried. And this dude, so my dad dies, and then probably 5 years later, his mom dies, who was my grandpa Dick's wife. This dude brings his new girlfriend up to our cabin. This in like the year 99 probably. And sure enough, fucking he would make these badass remote control boats and remote control cars and stuff. He had this 4-foot painted purple speedboat remote control, right? Throws it in the water. This motherfucker wouldn't let me drive it. And I'm like an 11-year-old, and he wouldn't let me drive it. So like, I'll never forget that. Whereas like there was a fucking elder who wouldn't let a kid play with his fucking kid toy that he built, whether it ran on gas or not, motherfucker.
Dude, I thought that was gonna have like a happy ending.
Dude.
Fuck that guy. No.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is like experiences I've had doing the opposite, negative experiences, doing the opposite for my daughter, remembering how I felt and making sure that she doesn't feel that I'm not that asshole father. Like my stepdad, I'll never forget. This is the last dying stretch of my mom being married to this dude. I came home and he was laying on the couch, and in between his restaurant jobs, right, that he fucking owned, he's a workaholic. And I asked him if he'd come outside and play basketball with me. And my mom overheard him say, "No, I'm too tired." And sure enough, my mom knew that she was going to announce divorce papers and present divorce papers.
Dude, shout out your mom though.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, is like, it's moments like that where it's like, I literally think of that when my daughter asks me to do something. I never say no. I literally never fucking say no. And that's kind of the cool thing about being able to, fucking not make the same mistakes.
I think the memories I have of like my dad was like being like, I think I was like 12, maybe 13, and him saying he was coming to pick me up and expecting him not to. That's like those moments of that could have been the other way. But the reason I actually say that is because you made me think of how there's still value in that lesson, right? I get something, I learned something that I kind of value today, which is to not hold expectations, because that's just how I, stay away from disappointment. I don't allow myself to get disappointed because I don't have an expectation of the outcome of someone else. Like I don't have expectations of something someone else is going to do, because that's how you get disappointed. And that, like, so there's positive and negative, but then there's things that like you might perceive as negative that are really just unpleasant, but have a positive outcome in the long run.
Yeah, man, as a grown-ass adult who's made every mistake under the sun, who has been told no a trillion times, you're forced to realize that the dark means there's light coming, and I think being able to to understand duality and lead a dualistic life, oh my gosh, that's where Pandora's box opens up for us. Justin, like, you, out of a lot of my friends, honestly, if there's one who could have had every opportunity to throw his life down the river and send it to Brazil, it was you. Fuck, dude. Your dad being the way he was, and your mom being in fucking prison.
She's
Still,
home now.
she's home now.
Yeah, she
But
moved in
still,
with
like,
me a couple months ago.
dude, that's fucking awesome. I'm so proud of you, and we need to talk more about that sometime.
Yeah,
I want to know what's like, how it's going, you know?
yeah.
But yeah, he says, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, but you had every chance to fucking keep banging heroin. You
No,
know,
I had absolutely every opportunity to,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
stay addicted or, you know, take my own life,
Mhm.
you know, which in a lot of times it was that was not only the easier way to go, but it was like also the way life was pushing me too. It wasn't just easy. It almost felt as if that's why I was born, was to be miserable and suffer and want to die. You know, I've had like lots of that time in my life where it felt like my purpose here is to fucking hate this experience, right? And I was like, I had no choice but to try and change my perspective on the way the world made me feel. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here, right? I would be dead, or I would still be addicted. I like something from deep within myself had to, you know, fucking bust through the door and be like, hold up, this has almost gone way too far. You're lucky because I'm here to save you, right? Or like, save me. I'm here to save myself, right?
I can't stop but think that we're so blessed to have like people like you who have seen death's door, been to hell and back. Um, and then like comparing it to my life, like I was a 6-year-old holding my dad's hand while he died. Literally, I held my dad's hand while he died. You know what I'm saying? That's ingrained in me forever. And what does that do? What does that do? If it can drag you down, it can throw you across the train tracks, and it's sayonara, see you later. You're the epitome of a lost cause, or in a different dimension, or the current one. We made correct decisions along the way. We took it on the chin, what life had to offer, and then not making excuses because of our past, just executing and being a better human being because of the darkness. And that's the beauty of the hero's journey, which is why I look at you as a hero, because of everything you've been. And then to see you now and to know you now, my God, man, that is you're the fucking reincarnation. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability, Justin, to possess Christ consciousness because of your darkness. And I bet you wouldn't trade it for the world in regards to comparatively, like if you grew up like Paris Hilton. You get my
Right.
drift?
Yeah.
There is a piece of Paris Hilton's spirit that will never be able to expand and will have to come back to this dimension, reincarnate, to live, to go through this journey in a different way than a Hilton heiress. You get my drift?
Well, first I got to just say thanks. I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate hearing something like that. But then it's like in my head, I'm like, you know, my life's not been that bad. People have had it worse. You know, I give myself excuses as to not accept the compliment. I mean, but it's true though. I think I have a certain perspective and appreciation for life that would not be achievable without having faced those darkest moments, right? Because if I hadn't been there and I didn't find what I found in order to come out of it, I would have no awareness of the thing that I found. And if I didn't have any awareness of the thing that I found, I wouldn't have any fuel to get out of the bed nowadays. Because that thing I found is the reason I wake up every day, you know?
Bro, if you don't start giving yourself some credit for making the right decisions and doing the positive acts, Justin, you were not just a social justice advocate on ground zero. You were a social justice warrior. You get my drift?
Hmm.
And seeing how you operated, dude, there was no ego involved. It was love, 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 love. No, give them the benefit of the doubt. Even the dude who accidentally almost fucking ran over a bunch of people in a semi, you were the guy like, do not whoop his ass. There are answers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to do that, that's how I know, like,
But it's not only that there was answers, there was also this system that we're, supposedly fighting against. And the fight that we're fighting against is, cops playing judge, jury, and executioner on the street. And now we're about to stand here and do that same thing. Like, if we're seeking justice, we got to show an example of what justice looks like. So it made no sense to play executioner on that bridge that day, because we're fighting against doing what our reaction is to do.
yeah, man, like whatever it takes, whatever it took for you to get to that point, I envy it because I need to get on that level. I honestly, I am a patient motherfucker at times, but I'm not gonna lie, like Justin, I can learn a lot from you.
I think what benefited me a lot in that moment was the 2 weeks prior having had a Toad session.
Mhm.
Right before that, I
It was
was
insane the timing where like because you went to what was the Grand Canyon?
the Black Hills.
You went to the Black Hills and we blasted you off the day before you left or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then George Floyd lost his life and everything just sparked.
Dude, I got delivered into a new world. It wasn't I wasn't after that session. The world has never been the same. Well, I shifted dimensions, bro.
Well, yeah, that'll happen when you're on that.
That's crazy, though. Talk to me about Reiki. What's your experience been with Reiki?
Bro, not much, man. I've had some Reiki alignments and stuff. Like I don't know shit, so I don't have an answer for
Want to
you.
know something crazy? And I've had one Reiki experience, and it was a distance healing session, a distance Reiki session, about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks after that Toad session, because it was still during the riots and whatnot here at home.
Yep.
And that Reiki session, besides meditation and like sauna and breath work, that distance healing session has been the thing to bring me closest to source than anything else has. I had a full on, it was like I had my sessions on the Toad have been, I think, around 20 minutes, 20 to 22, or 19 to 22. And this Reiki distance, I wasn't even with a healer. This person just had me in their mind.
Oh
and
shit.
and my experience was about a quarter the duration of one of my Toad experiences.
Ooh,
Sitting on
really?
my deck watching the sunrise. I was overwhelmed by emotion and anxiety from the riots. It was one of the nights I didn't sleep at all. The sun was rising because I had just gotten home from watching the city fucking burn down.
Bro, that
Um,
was the first night I tuned in. That was the first night, and I stuck with you the whole time. You drove home with that dude, and I don't know who was driving or whatever. Am I talking about the same night?
I'm not sure what night you're referring to,
Yeah,
but go ahead.
well, it was just interesting because I could just that was the night you kind of got in that tiff with that other guy.
It might have been the same. Yeah, it was the same
It was
night.
that
Yeah.
same night. Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
That was the same night. Yeah. I was sitting on the deck watching the sunrise and had a psychedelic experience through distance Reiki healing. Yeah. That same.
Yeah,
That
man.
night was, I think it was in part because of the intensity and severity and the impact on my mental that night had, that I was so open to having this like out of this world experience.
Bro, this year's been magical. There's been so much darkness, but I can't help. I have to be an optimist, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. We don't know. It's always going to show its face in a mysterious way, but I truly believe that it's coming, Justin. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm always fucking optimistic, because if anything that I've experienced through psychedelia is something to look forward to for my standard of consciousness, then it's worth fighting for. Does that make sense? If
Yes.
some of those experiences become my new normal in the evolution of my consciousness or my consciousness,
Okay.
if some of those things become my new normal as far as my experience of life, they're worth fighting for. And I'm optimistic because that's in my future. And as long as something beyond my third dimensional, my third density experience,
Mhm.
this whatever suffering or whatever trauma, whatever negative emotion or unpleasant experience I might have in this realm is worth getting through, because what I've experienced over there it's just worth it. My temporary experiences over there, it's worth it. I can get through fucking anything if that is what my future has in store for me.
Man, you said it best. Honestly, maximizing potential, squeezing as much juice out of that orange as possible. Honestly, Justin, like, it's been an honor to share space with you. It has been a journey that we live in a Zoom world now, so you might have said that we've hung out less than 10 times. Get out of here.
Bro, I know you. Like, my soul body chills with your
Yeah.
soul body. Like,
Yeah, dude, we spoon each other in the astral realm.
Yep. That
What?
and that violet light just,
Boy.
Bro, is utopia possible? Is it worth striving for, you?
Well, it's funny because it's like people live in so much calamity within their own personal existences. It's utopia is what we're living in. Utopia, as long as you understand your moment as utopia, you get my drift and perceive it as such. So I am living in utopia. I can eat whatever the fuck I want. I can do whatever I want. I can kiss my wife. I can exist in a free world, but that's because I created freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, I heard this thing last week. It was this philosopher. I forgot what I was listening to, some podcast, or no, I was listening to the book Enlightenment Now, okay, by Steven Pinker. And he was talking about how the United States was created to be that, like, universality, equal opportunity, right, from freedom from religious oppression and stuff like that, right? That's what we were created on the back of. And we actually played ourselves because we're really not meant to coexist with so many different ethnicities and religions. And you get my drift? Where, like, it's actually, we have so much fucking calamity, dude.
Like, inherently as a human, like, we're not made for the setting that we built for ourselves.
We're just not, bro. And like, it's insane because it's what really taught me a lot was finding out that Asian people are racist towards other Asians, and there are Africans who are racist towards just Black people who were born here. You get my drift? Like, seeing that firsthand and growing up in a Black household with my stepdad now for the past 2 decades and my mixed siblings and stuff, I started realizing, like, oh my God, dude, like, the way Sid still talks about some of the cats from Atlanta that he grew up with. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, we are a species with amnesia. Kind of like Graham Hancock talks about, like, we've truly forgotten where we've come from. You get my drift? Like, there was a reason why there was British conquerors. You get my drift? Invading Eastern Africa. Those motherfuckers didn't coexist.
No.
You get my drift? They did not coexist. And now, like, there's this, and Steven Pinker was talking about forced coexistence. Like, dude, there's a reason why there's a Chinatown in San Francisco, beyond culturally. Leave us the fuck alone. You get my drift? Just give us this. Just give us this. Leave us the fuck alone. You get my drift? There's this island just off the coast of Seattle that you have to take a ferry to, all Japanese. The island is basically fucking mini Japan. You get my drift? And I jive with it because it's like, dude, I wouldn't want to be around fucking ignorant ass white people either. Right. For the most part. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You go live in a town, like right now, the town I grew up in, Mazeppa. Only Black family that ever lived there was a cross burning. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get my drift? Like, so let's not get it twisted here. Like, the United States was a great idea and everything, but when it comes to like getting back to your homeland, I give props to the Acons of the world where he's rebuilding his homeland.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
That's
I'm
gonna
saying?
be dope.
That's some boss moves, because then it's like,
Acon
wait a
City.
minute, like woke ass white people, I just want to travel there and like dip my toes in. I couldn't fucking live there.
Mm.
I want to dip my toes in and fucking spread love and dance and have a couple of fucking mojitos on a Friday night and go fucking dancing.
And then
You know what I'm saying?
go home with that experience to
Mhm.
grow as an individual off of. To me, at least, that stands out.
I listened to this book. It was a hunting book, not a hunting book. It was all about like a tracker. So the tracker's guide to something, right? And this is a dude who grew up in the African bush, and he talks about how just honestly it takes a different human being to be able to track in the Africa bush, and it literally lets you know no Bear Grylls genes, Steve Irwin genes. If they fucking had a baby, you would still not produce a motherfucker who could exist in the African bush. You get my drift? It just couldn't happen. It takes a different form of human being. And then what's crazy is, I don't know if Joe Rogan just had somebody on or if this dude Steven Pinker was talking about it, but we actually have so many varying subsets of our genealogy that like mankind ain't as the same as we all think it is. Do you get my drift?
As far as like the vessel, is that what you mean?
Genetically, we might be 99% similar, but the parts that are not similar are pretty outstanding in regards to abilities. You get my drift? So like future generations like Gen Z, I think might, as long as they can stay away from being uber addicted to technology, I think they can be tapped in on a whole different degree. And I think it's happening generationally.
Yeah.
You get my drift?
So do you think there's a separation between like the evolution of consciousness and the evolution of your line of genetics? Like, do you think like the collective conscious evolves generationally, and then depending on your descent, you know, you might evolve in this other type of way?
Well, first we would have to understand, have to understand reincarnation. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
And we would have to really understand what is consciousness, because I believe like completely 100% sentient beings are probably tapped into source way more than we could even fathom, like cuttlefish and squid and octopi and stuff like that. So so human beings, like I really believe that there are, and this is like gonna kind of be grotesque to say, but like there are some gene pools in like fucking, I don't know if it's Eastern Kentucky or whatever, they probably need to chill out on procreation. You get my drift? They're actually kind of holding us back. And we've seen a lot of them ignorantly come out and be some COVID Karens, and there's something missing upstairs, and they are not on team people. If you get my drift? They're not progressively pushing us forward. They're actually holding our species back.
But you don't think that's like a cultural thing in that specific instance?
Oh yeah, and guess what? They got fucking low IQs and they fuck their cousins. You get my drift? Like, let's not get it twisted. When I was talking about how the varying degrees of genealogy, guess what else happened? Ignorant motherfucking royalty continued to fuck their cousins. And what sticks with them is a mindset where they're better than everybody else, but they're really not. They're not even smart. Like, could a prince build Google? I don't think a prince could.
Like a bunch of King Joffreys.
You know what I'm saying? Little bitch ass motherfuckers, where it's like a dude who went through hell and back will build us a Google, will be an Elon Musk, a dude who's been slept on. You know what I'm saying? Single mother type shit. Single parent households. Yeah, we either end up fucking crazy or in jail, but I'd rather be a crazy rich dude than a fucking ignorant ass rich dude, because all my genealogy fucked each other because they're all kissing cousins.
So where did you get lucky in that?
Lucky in what?
in like the like the evolution of Nick.
Oh man, I've hit my head a lot of times in life.
Do you think that was helpful or hurtful?
Well, it both. So memory wise, it fucked me up, but where it was helpful is it threw fear out the window. So I literally had a span of four. I had 4 concussions in like 7 months, and that was not good. But at the
That's
same
got to
time,
be pretty damaging.
very much so. Why do you think I fucking had to go to the jungle and drink ayahuasca?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had to reboot my brain. And hyperbaric chambers help as well. But and lots of sleep. But yeah, you know, I've been forced into like early supplementation. I was a 20-year-old obsessed with supplementation, not to be built and ripped or anything like that, but for my brain. You know, I've been taking fish oil since I was a 16-year-old and got my first ever concussion. My first
That's
one
sick. That's cool.
first one
Wait. How do you make fish oil?
I don't make it. I buy it.
Oh, I thought. Oh, you said taking.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said I've been making fish oil since I was 15.
Yeah, squeeze it out of fish
That'd
butts.
have been way cooler of a story, bro. Make it up.
Well, check this out. So how I learned that fish oil was really good for your brain was beyond just doing what the doctor told me to do, but watching my father-in-law after he got in that motorcycle accident because of those barriers. He fucking they prescribed him. He had to take like 2 handfuls of fish oil every single day. Still to this day he has to, for his brain. And it just goes to show, like, man, you could do a lot for yourself without relying on Western medicine. You can really kind of tap into things that the FDA doesn't want to fucking promote. They can't promote. You know what I'm saying?
That's why we gotta fucking normalize CBD and cannabis culture, dog.
Yeah, so I think CBD is a good tool. It really is a good tool. And cannabis culture, like, I don't know, Justin. I don't know. I don't know if it's too late. You get my drift?
No.
What we do, it's going to be a medicine and it's going to be a tool used forever. But unfortunately, I think society has lost a grip on it. One, we've allowed the war on drugs to fucking be extended, even though drugs have won that war. But more or less, it's lost its respect. There's no respect for cannabis in the like grand scheme, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So that's what worries me is you have like my younger siblings whose brains aren't fully developed and they know perfectly well that it holds them back.
We've kind of gotten there with acid too.
Oh, fuck. I mean, acid was one of those things where a lot of motherfuckers fried their brains on that shit.
But collectively, we've lost our respect for it as its for its healing, properties, or potential healing properties.
And we're seeing it with ayahuasca. We're seeing it with DMT. Kids fucking smoking DMT pens, vape pens at concerts and shit. That's like uber disrespect. Yeah. I
almost get like a sick feeling in my stomach hearing about that. Like, that just grosses me out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be knocked out in a mosh pit. You get my drift? And that's knocked out because I hit a DMT pen.
That's a personal sit-down experience,
Yeah, to say the least. So what have we done? So I don't trust human beings, basically. You get my drift? I don't trust human beings to make the right decision right now. Because cats can't even, like, not go to a Halloween party. 1 year, just don't go to a fucking Halloween party. Don't dress up like Tarzan. Right. Get my drift? Take 1 year off. What happens? My wife is working the COVID frontline right now. She's like the numbers. She's working they shut down her psych department that she was working in. So they put her on the COVID hotline. Bro, literally like clockwork after Halloween. And then like this girl that we brought on as a subcontractor to manage some contracts for us, she went to a Halloween party. She's young. She's like 22. Went to a Halloween party on that Friday the 30th. All 20 of the people who attended the party got COVID, including her. You get my drift? So, I mean, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, chances are fucking good it's that COVID duck, And I mean, human beings, they can't be trusted to make the right decision. So like you give a there's a reason why I just found this out that like if you're a 16-year-old kid, you just got your license, you can only have one person in the car. And if you want to drive with somebody, I believe they have to be, no, that's for your permit. But anyways, you can only have one person in the car because back in the day, we had 4 people in the car, 5 people in the car, 6 people in the car, and fucking every single one of my fender benders came when I had at least 4 people in my car. You get my drift? So, I mean, yeah, people can't be trusted. And I hate to say it because we are sovereign vessels, but at the same time, like not everybody has really grabbed the bull by the horns. Some people are being bamboozled, but really they're bamboozling themselves. And I think this whole pandemic has taught everybody that, where it's like you thought you had it all figured out, but you really got to see firsthand how fickle your existence is.
I actually had I had a moment where I thought about it that way, where it's like people had, we like broke through the matrix, right? We had this experience of like a lot of people that thought they had it together, like you just said, are being shocked. It's coming to their surprise. I don't have it figured out. But I found a moment of like peace during all this where I was like, because I recognize for myself, I don't have it figured out. It was almost like, when is everyone else going to figure out that they don't have it figured out? And then it was like a moment where it's like, oh, I can chill knowing that I'm at home playing fucking video games for 10 hours a day at the start of this lockdown shit. And so is probably everyone else that I know. Like it's a moment just to know that like we all are trapped in like so much of this is outside of our control. And now like when the shit hits the fan, we're all experiencing it at once. Everyone I know has had some like been put in the hospital this year. They've had loved one dies. They've lost a job. They've their car is having car problems. Their furnace goes out or some just crazy shit for everybody across the board. And it's like, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one being drugged through the ringer through this shit.
Yeah, so here's the deal, man. People, as a human being, as a race, as a species, they are really, how everyone envisions they view an awakening as like, oh, you have this like shower epiphany, or you saw God in a spaceship showing you his butthole or something like that, right? Everyone thinks it's going to come in like this most like picture perfect way, right? But in reality, it comes in a way you couldn't even fucking fathom. You get my drift? Even doomsday preppers thought it was going to be fucking Russia or it was going to come from the sky in bombs. You get my drift?
Flare
Or solar flares.
Bombs.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or a meteor and I'm going to be in the ground, right? But really it comes in the form of a fucking virus that might or might not have been actually just fucking released by a country that hates us, a communistic country that hates us. But they just deal with us because we're fucking consumer whores. You get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
And so it came in a different way. So I really see this with the service industry. My friends who work in the service industry, I take care of them. I work with them. I try to make the companies they work for a lot of money so they can stay employed. I go down the list. I do my part, but it doesn't mean that you're still like in 35, 36 as a server. And it's like you didn't prepare ahead. You know what I'm saying? You were like on borrowed time. You were kicking the can down the road for a decade plus when you could have figured something out for yourself, 10 years ago, or worked on something. I feel bad for you. I feel bad for your kids. I feel for you, and I'm going to try to help you out. But like, let's not get it twisted. Like, you were on fickle time and you didn't prepare yourself for this. Get my drift?
Mm-hmm.
I was born for this. I thrive in a pandemic, and I'm realizing that now. Actually, me and some of my partners were in this meeting last week with this beer company in the Twin Cities, and then we all got out and we stayed in the conference room after they left, and we were all just sitting there bullshitting for like another 45 minutes about how like this pandemic has really showed us how we really know how to hustle. You get my drift? We were prepared for this because we put in our fucking hours, I don't
Yeah.
know, Justin. I feel like I've kind of been on a soapbox your entire show, and I really feel bad if
For
you're
what?
I don't know. I just feel like I've kind of came in here swinging.
Bro,
And
you're you. This is what I don't want any other version of you. I mean, I want you to be you, and if I feel like you're being authentic, I'm gonna fucking enjoy it, and that's what I'm getting from you right now. So
my
I
brother.
don't care. I don't even care what you say next, as long as it's like genuine. It's cool,
You're just the fucking bastard.
dude. How do we get ourselves to do the things that we know are best to do for ourselves? Like, if you could look at your life and your life's choices as like a multiple choice questionnaire, how do you ace that 100% of the time? Is that even possible?
Okay, so 2 questions ago, you brought up a utopian. Is it possible, right?
Mhm.
So, for human beings to understand and even work towards utopia, it's acceptance with oneself that we are not perfect and we will never be perfect. We can only progress and get better than we were yesterday. Okay. How we do that is we live in the moment. We consistently live in the moment always. So that means if we stubbed our toe 5 minutes ago, we're not going to go through this life worried about stubbing our toe. Okay. That we learned from that. Okay. Here's the deal. For me personally, I could always have a better diet. I could always have a better sleep pattern. I could always work less and love more. I could always not be so cynical on Saturday mornings. I could always, you know what I'm saying? I can always do more. I can always not allow my blabber to take over and go on a walk when I need to go on a walk. You get my drift? Things like that. I can always do things sooner. I can always take it upon myself um, to not watch so much football, not give a fuck about fantasy football, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, by the way, I just took 2 of the worst losses ever in my 22 years of playing.
Is that why that was fresh on your mind right now?
Yes, very
Damn.
fucking fresh.
Damn.
Uh,
It's too
last
fucking
year I
bad.
won. Last year I won 2 out of 3 of my leagues. This year I'm not making the playoffs in any of them. It's fucking
That's
so disappointed.
it's kind of how it goes.
I don't want to hear about that.
Bro,
That's
as skilled as you are at fantasy football, it's luck of the draw.
I realized that when I was let's see here, I was the second highest scoring team, and I had the third most points scored, or the first most points scored against me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So last week, for instance, all my guys go off: Justin Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, everybody and their mother, and then sure enough, I lose by 2 points. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week, I lost because of the Hail Mary to Richard Rodgers, literally.
Damn.
Oh, boy. And in that game, I had Miles Sanders, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Jason Myers, and Seattle.
Oh,
Steve.
dude, I saw that screenshot.
Yeah, that was
I saw that. I remember thinking, like, this had to have been miserable.
the Richard Rodgers. And the worst part about it was he had Will Disley in because he had Mark Andrews, who got pulled because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to call a quick audible because he thought they were going to play on Tuesday. Mark Andrews got COVID, right? So he had to play one of 2 tight ends from Monday night. He had
crazy.
Will Disley all Sunday, all Monday. And then right before the game, he throws in Richard Rodgers, and Richard Rodgers catches the game-winning fucking Hail Mary to beat my ass.
Well,
Yeah. So, I mean, when you see shit like that and like it is what it is, I used to take it to heart. But when you just have so much going on, it gets to the point where it's like, bro, like all the bullshit I deal with just leads to wins. So I just deal with the bullshit because I know it always gets better. And that's a perspective thing, you know?
it is. You got to like have that lens, and because you bring about what you think about, right? And you got to kind of got to form that lens for yourself in order to have that sort of outcome. You have you got to make yourself aware of those wins, or like you're just not going to see them.
You goddamn right, dude. Those wins, baby. Those wins better get your sale out because those wins are coming, baby. They're going to take you around the world, baby. This is around the time I get sleep deprived. Mind you, I was up at 5:15 this morning for a 6:15 breath class.
All right. So let's get to wrapping it up pretty quick. What are you still sober or not drinking?
Yeah, I'm not drinking. I do insane shit. So like, I built this studio, right?
Which is dope. By the way, if no one has seen it, like, go find that tour on your Instagram, or I don't know. You got to find it somewhere. Okay.
Look it up. But anyways, yeah. So I just do insane shit. So I decided to not drink for the year 2020 just because I knew it was going to be a big year, and then pandemic happened. I just stayed sober and fucking I still wasn't smoking pot, and then got to the point where my anxiety was just kind of getting fucking unruly. So I started smoking pot again. The CBD wasn't cutting it. I'm fucking sponsored by 2 companies, and it just wasn't working. I was smoking like a chimney. And then
last time we did a podcast, I remember you were smoking CBD.
Yeah, and I felt
or no,
I had hit a block, and then I think to start September I started smoking THC again, and honestly, it's kind of been this blessing. It's been a performance enhancer for other things I do. Like yesterday, I'll just I love walking on inclines, and I started, so I'll walk say 3 miles a day on an incline, just kick the shit out of myself. And then I've been taking steel mace courses through Onnit, which is this Onnit 6 program. So I'm just still just pushing myself, bro. And I'm really becoming aware of who I am physically functionally. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, besides just strength, right?
Yeah. Just being able to stretch and bend in positions that I've never been able to. And just paying attention to just tightness in so I literally spent all day yesterday stretching. And I did it because I'm an old man who now feels good today because I stretched all day yesterday. You get my drift?
Yeah.
So I have this massage appointment yesterday, but she's really going to do a bunch of rolfing in these certain areas that my acupuncturist told me I need work on. So
rolfing. What's rolfing?
Where they dig deep into your fascia.
Oh, that shit's going to hurt, huh?
It always does. But I got fucking cut bruises on my back religiously around the clock just because my friends are fucking chiros and acupuncturists, and they kick the shit out of me, and I allow it.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is, dude. I just I've always tried to be ahead of the curve in regards to, we're introducing IV therapy at my boy's clinic. I linked him up with that with Hydrate Minnesota. So that's going to be cool. That'll be coming here eventually. And then red light therapy, which is people need to hop on red light therapy. That's something that's a fucking game changer. And then using pulse technology, which is these electrically charged chairs that you sit in for say 20 minutes. It helps with brain fog. It helps with a lot of stuff. So yeah, man, I've just really been trying to tap into that side of myself physically.
What's your favorite modality of just self-discovery or maintenance, recovery? What's your favorite modality to kind of play with?
Honestly, and I'm not just saying this because it's fresh in my mind, but this morning I experienced absolute nirvana bliss naturally just doing breath work. Wim Hof and performance breathing with my boy Matt Wiest and Andy Secor from the Centered Movement. They started Breath House, and I experienced that this morning, and I'm honestly going to say that because breath, it's so simple, but we do not pay attention to it. Not many people tap into their life breath. They're top breathers, they call them. And when you tap into your life breath and you push your belly out because you're taking it in, you know what I'm saying? And it does something to your freaking cosmic serpent coming up your spine and your autonomic nervous system, and it allows you, I held my breath for 3.5 minutes this morning towards the end of this session.
Is that a long ass time?
For a dude who smokes cannabis every single day, fuck yeah, that's a long ass time.
I mean, that sounds like a long ass time to me.
It was insane. I was paying attention to the time, and I was like, holy fuck, I just can keep going. But that's because you stockpile O2 in your bloodstream, and you can just fucking do it.
It's sick.
It's insane.
I've only played with breath work. I haven't actually been led in it. I've just read some things and then played with it a little bit on my own. And those experiences have been dope and some really intense, but I can't imagine the level of it that you're getting into. That sounds like something I want to try.
Well, I have to ask you, what are you doing on Thursday?
Work. 11
You
to 7.
You should 11 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
If you're down to wake up early, that would be super cool if you joined us on Zoom.
What time? I'll do it.
6:15 a.m. I believe.
We can talk more about it after, but I'm taking a note.
I got you for sure. Yeah, so it would be breathwork. That's where I'm tapped in right now, and I'm gonna continue to be tapped in.
Dope. You got anything else to add?
I mean, really, it's just I hope people have pulled some sort of value from this, because I made it a point that for the year 2020, the reason why I like sobered up and stuff like that is I really wanted to just find my voice this year. And I just built this studio, and we can run full production out of this place. And I took a break after George Floyd passed. I made it a point that I'm just going to be a white dude who's going to fucking, in a nutshell, keep my opinion to myself. Not because it got me in trouble or anything like that, but because I want my brothers and sisters to take the shine right now. So that's why we have just pivoted completely to run campaigns for small business and helping people and minority owned businesses, and campaigns, local campaigns for people who give a fuck about minorities. And I just figured that it was time for old Nikolai to shut the fuck up. So this is my first podcast in a long time. It's probably why I've been so chatty, but I just know that like this was the year to just shut the fuck up.
That's interesting you say that, because on that last toad experience that I had, I remember coming out of it, and my intuition was to stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I remember that you were gonna like silence the fuck out.
Yeah, I was like, I was proposing to myself taking a vow of silence until it felt right to talk again.
You came out of space and you were writing me notes.
Yeah.
You literally weren't even talking. You were writing me notes. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a trip. Well,
and then you went and lost your voice in Minneapolis.
Yep, a week later.
Holy shit.
And I think, there's things that I had in that toad experience that almost like pointed out to me what was coming, and I didn't see it for what it was until it was here.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I was being prepared. Like, I was like, it forced me to set fear aside and understand I don't want to be led by fear, save my voice for when it's needed, because my voice is more powerful than I realize. Like so many like realizations that were like, you need to know this now because there's something ahead.
Well, man, it all shaped up to where you are in the here and now. You are my brother. I am you. And I motherfucking appreciate you. What do we got here?
Here we go.
Here we go. Dude,
what's this?
Yo, Stationary Astronaut fucking figured it out. I don't know how, with the fucking haircut and everything, but he fucking did it. He did it.
I remember that video, bro. That's sick. Where can people find you and they can say what's up?
Stationary Astronaut. Been posting on Instagram every single day, some of our work. Also, hit me up on Facebook, Nikolai Zeppa. Go follow Stationary Astronauts, plural, on Facebook. Look me up, man. Like, let's just make some magic happen. You contact me. You got an idea. Let's run with it.
All right, bro. I appreciate you taking the time to join me on this podcast. I'm going to hit end on the recording, but don't leave the thing yet. But for real, thank you very much for taking this time. It's dope to know that you hadn't podcasted in a while, and we got you back out here.
So you the best. You the best.
So thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been the We Are One podcast. Peace and love, everybody. That's all I got. Adios.